And nobody stood up to Brice. Nobody tried to stop this from happening. You didn't try to take him down. You stabbed your best friend. Is that correct?
Couldn't do nothing, though. I mean, I was scared. He was all scared. I don't know. I just know I couldn't really save him.
This has been, by far, one of the most tragic cases I've ever been involved in.
He is the murderer who's been called pure evil by a detective. Brice Rhodes will spend the rest of his life behind bars after a Kentucky judge sentenced him for 3 brutal killings nearly a decade ago. We're breaking down everything we know about this convicted killer as family members of multiple victims try to heal. Welcome to Sidebar, presented by Law&Crime. I'm Jesse Weber. It took almost 10 years, but 33-year-old Brice Rhodes has officially been sentenced for savagely killing 3 people. 40-year-old Christopher Jones, a man who was just out walking in the Louisville area that Rhodes mistook for the target of a hit, and 2 teenage boys, 16-year-old Maurice Gordon and 14-year-old Larry Ordway. And Gordon and Ordway were brothers. Now, in December, it only took the jury a few hours to return a guilty verdict against Rhodes for the murders, as well as tampering with evidence and 2 counts of abuse of a corpse. Now, there is a lot to get into when it comes to the Brice Rhodes case, so that's what this is going to be. This is going to be a recap, a summary of everything we know from beginning to end, and there is a lot. So let's go back to 2016, because that is when, according to prosecutors, they say Brice Rhodes believed that there was a hit out on this local man, and he recruited several teenage boys to go with him to carry out this assassination, promising them part of the money that he would get for the killing. Well, Rhodes ended up shooting and killing Christopher Jones in a drive-by shooting with the 2 young brothers in the car. Now, tragically, of course, killing any assassination is horrible, but here, Jones wasn't even the real target of this supposed hit. Rhodes killed an innocent man. Now, by the way, I should tell you, it was reported that Larry and Maurice, they looked up to Rhodes. He was an aspiring rapper. He reportedly featured them in music videos. He would buy them clothes and food. That's what the reporting indicated. But after this drive-by shooting, these brothers allegedly told their mother about what happened. And we learned from testimony during the trial that Rhodes found out that they snitched and decided something had to be done. Well, not long after, Maurice and Larry's bodies were found beaten, stabbed, and burned in the backyard of an abandoned house. So we always talk about personal security and safety on Sidebar, and that's why I want to highlight our sponsor, Aura. Now, you might not know this, but your personal information could be collected by data brokers and sold, and that is completely legal in the United States. Yeah, I'm talking about your full name, your email, your home address, what type of car you drive, your relatives. It's all out there. I'm going to give you an example. Look at what happens when I type in Jesse Weber. Scary. That is a lot of information, and I have absolutely no idea who is using it and how. Data brokers, they sell your information to scammers, to spammers, anyone else who may want to target you, but that is where Aura comes in. You see, Aura shows you which data brokers are selling information and then automatically submits opt-out requests for you. Cleaning this information up not only helps reduce the amount of spam that you would get, but it protects you from hackers who could use this information to help them access your social media accounts, your bank accounts, other sensitive information. Aura can also do so much more to protect you and your family from online threats that you just can't see. And it is so easy to set up, so you don't have to download several different apps to get things like parental controls, antivirus, VPN, password management, identity theft insurance, and more. It's all there. I value my privacy. I value yours. You can go to aura.com/lawandcrime to start your free 2-week trial, also linked below in the description. Now, there were a lot of reasons this took so long to go to trial. Rhodes had multiple attorneys that were assigned to him that he either refused to work with or even outright threatened. He waited more than a year for a competency evaluation. And of course, the court system was severely hampered by the COVID-19 pandemic. But what really made headlines when we talk about Brice Rhodes was his behavior. So this is a guy who was charged in 2017 with escape for trying to literally dig his way out of the county jail. That's what we're talking about. He also reportedly spit on one attorney who tried to recuse himself for a conflict of interest. accused police of framing him for the murders, even accused one judge of being a secret member of the KKK.
And it's my right to speak what I need to speak on. I don't know if y'all got some type of sexual relationship going on or what y'all got going on, but I'm definitely gonna speak my mind.
Detective Detelli, I have no sexual relationship.
Now I'm talking about you and the prosecutor over there, sir. You denied all my motions. Every motion I filed, you didn't deny it.
I'm pretty sure I've denied the vast
Every motion I
majority of
filed.
pro se motions that have ever
Are you some type of racist? Or you got some type of sexual relationship going on? Which one is it?
Or are you just wrong in everything that you've made a motion for?
Are you a secret Ku Klux Klan member?
No, sir, I'm
Is that
not.
what you really are?
No,
Okay.
I'm not.
But like I said, the higher courts, they'll deal with it when time comes necessary.
At another point, Brice Rhodes was accused of spitting on an inmate, beating up and threatening another, and according to an arrest warrant, even allegedly threatened to kill that inmate, quote, like he did the others. So at one point, given all of this going on, Brice Rhodes was strapped to a chair and fitted with a spit mask when he was brought into court.
Mr. Rhodes, you can just bring him up right here. I think you know why. You know exactly why. Now, listen, stop talking. You have been... Are you done?
No, I'm done.
You've been charged with assault in the 4th degree. I'm going to keep talking because I don't want to have to see you back here for this.
What you talking about? Can't find out where you live at? What you think that? I don't give a fuck about none of that. I ain't do
So you're saying you're going to find out where I live at?
give a fuck about none of that. You got something, I'll be up.
Okay. You've been charged with assault in the 4th degree, minor injury, terroristic threatening in the 3rd degree, and physical contact. I am setting a bond of $15,000 full cash on those charges, and the other case, once this actually gets served on you, is going to be dismissed without prejudice as duplicate. Do you have any questions? Would you like the appointment of a public defender?
Not guilty.
I just said that.
Not guilty.
I just said that.
I'll be up.
But would you like an attorney?
All right.
Okay. I'm going to appoint the public defender's office.
Go. I'll be up.
Ms. Shoring, that was a threat against the court. I think that I'm asking the county attorney's office to take that into account and consider what to do with that.
Did you catch that? Did you hear that? Because he basically told Judge Amber Wolf that he could find out where she lives as well as her family, seemingly implying that if he ever got out of jail, he would hurt them. Yeah. Now, there was also what happened in January of 2019. So Elizabeth Marie Wren, this is Maurice and Larry's mother, she lunged at Rhodes as he was being led from the courtroom, allegedly screaming as the bailiffs were holding her back, screaming, "Lock me up, lock me up. Why don't you let me get to him? He's sick." Now, when it came to the issue of competency, which I mentioned before, Judge Julie Kalin, who would end up being the trial judge here, she ruled that Brice Rhodes was competent to stand trial, but not eligible for the death penalty due to documented mental illness and an intellectual disability. By the way, when we talk about competency, we don't mean insanity. That's something different. Competency means the ability of a criminal defendant to understand and participate in the legal proceedings. Do they understand the charges, their rights, what's going on? So the trial went ahead, and that is what we want to get into. Now, in the lead up to his murder trial, Brice Rhodes was a very controversial and brash figure, often speaking out of turn in court, shouting at his attorneys, threatening court officials. Well, Judge Kalin decided that when he went to trial at the end of 2023, he would be fitted with an ankle cuff that would literally shock him if he disturbed the proceedings. But much to everyone's surprise, at least mine, Rhodes was actually silent during his trial. He didn't testify in his own defense. He didn't make any sort of remarks from the defense table. In fact, you could argue he almost looked bored most of the time. That's the way I saw it, although it's hard to know what he was thinking or feeling. However, the testimony that he was forced to listen to was really difficult for us to listen to. Anwan Carter, Ja'Cory Taylor, and Tiernan Coleman, they were all part of Rhodes' circle. They all entered plea deals for their roles in the death of the murders of Christopher Jones and Larry Ordway and Maurice Gordon. I mean, these brothers were reportedly their friends. But now, Rhodes did have some things to say about that during a pretrial hearing.
See, to sum everything up, detectives were told numerous lies and fabrications by the informant, and they were led on a wild goose chase by someone who made up a story who just thought just so they can get out of jail.
Okay, so as part of their plea deals, Carter and Taylor were required to testify. Carter was first. He was 15 at the time of these murders. He was wearing an orange jumpsuit on the stand, and it's our understanding he is incarcerated, but not in connection with this case. Apparently, he was on probation for this case, aged out of the juvenile system, but he was later convicted on burglary charges. While on the stand, he explained what happened on May 22nd, 2016, the day these brothers were killed. This is when the teens were hanging out at Brice Rhodes' home, and Maurice allegedly pointed a knife at another boy.
What did Brice do after he took the knife?
He's like he gonna violate him.
Okay. Brice is going to violate Maurice. And can you explain in general terms, what does it mean to violate somebody? What's that term mean?
It really means like inflict pain. Like he could have just hit him in the chest. He could have did a range of things.
It's like a disciplining of the person.
Yeah.
And Carter would explain that Rhodes locked the brothers in a bathroom, then brought out Maurice, punching and stabbing him repeatedly and forcing the others who were there to do the same. Then Larry was brought out next.
Now, these guys are your best friends, right?
Yeah.
What's running through your mind?
Make sure I get out.
What's that?
I gotta make sure I get out. Try to save somebody else. Make sure I'm safe.
And what would have stopped you from getting out?
Probably if I ain't go along with it,
What would have happened?
probably been with him. Probably same situation, same fate.
All right. So they bring Larry out of the bathroom. Does he have? When does he get the sock?
He already been like he had the belt, he had a hat, he got the sock. He had the sock when it was his turn.
Okay, when you say he had the belt, what do you mean?
His hands was already tied behind his back. He had a hat over his eyes, so he couldn't see.
And he had a sock in his mouth?
He got the sock when it was his turn.
Was he making noises?
Not yet. He started making noises when he started getting stabbed.
Was he on his knees?
Yeah.
Did he know what had happened to his brother?
No.
Was there blood in the spot that he was at?
Yeah.
Did he respond to that?
Yeah, he started like trying to kick everything off, like get his hands untied, get his hands free and stuff.
Was his brother making any noise at that point?
Brother already did.
So how many times did he get stabbed?
I don't know. A lot.
Who was stabbing him?
Shit, he stabbed him until he was dead.
Brice did?
Yeah. Then he passed the knife around.
Who did he pass the knife to?
He passed it to me.
Why'd he pass you the knife? They're both dead, right?
Yeah, both dead, but shit, he said, so we all gonna be in it. So it's on all of us now.
So you would participate?
Yeah.
So what did you have to do with the knife?
I had to stab him.
Who'd you stab?
Larry.
How many times did you stab Larry?
Like 3.
What'd you do with the knife?
She passed it back to him.
What'd he do with the knife?
She passed it to somebody else.
It's absolutely horrific to think about. Carter says that they loaded the bodies into a car. Then he and Ja'Cory Taylor stayed behind to clean the apartment while Rhodes went to dispose of the evidence. And speaking of which, during this trial, we heard from co-defendant Taylor. He was 17 in May of 2016 when this went down. Taylor also accepted a plea deal. He was sentenced to 10 years in prison, but because of time served and only having to serve a percentage of his sentence, he got out in 2021. Now, after some basic questions from the prosecution, Taylor refused to answer anything else.
Okay, Mr. Taylor, I want to turn to the May 4th incident.
I ain't got nothing to say.
Sir, leading up to May 4th of 2016, can you tell us what happened?
I ain't got nothing to say. I respect what y'all doing here, but I ain't got nothing to say about the incident.
So what happened? Judge Kalin had an attorney from the public defender's office come to the courtroom to talk with Taylor.
All right, Mr. Taylor, I'm going to give you some time to talk to Mr. Ferraccio, who is here at my request as your attorney. But let me say this. When a question is asked of you, you can answer it yes, no, or I don't remember. And if you want to, you can explain more beyond that. But simply not answering will result in me holding you in contempt of court and putting you in jail likely. Additionally, it could open you up to other consequences, such as your prior plea deal being taken away and all of the charges against you being reinstated. Now, I do not care how you answer, but you will either answer or remain in the jail. Mr. Ferraccio, I'll give you some time to speak with him now.
They met in a conference room for several minutes, then court was back in session, and Taylor finally answered the prosecutor's questions. His testimony pretty much lined up with what Carter had already said about the drive-by shooting as well as the killings of Maurice and Larry.
Why didn't you and Anwan just leave during the night?
You said, why didn't we?
Why didn't you? While he was gone.
I was too scared, to be honest with you. I wasn't even in my right state of mind at that point. I mean, me personally, I never witnessed or seen nothing like that in my life, so. Man, I don't know why we didn't leave, man, to be honest. I just know we were scared. We just went along. We just did what he told us to do.
Again, just a horrifying, chilling account of what happened to these two boys. But then on Friday, December 15th, the prosecution rested its case. And the defense called no witnesses, and Brice Rhodes chose not to testify in his own defense. Well, attorneys for both sides delivered their closing arguments. The defense went first, with the prosecution getting the last word. And during their closing arguments, the defense tried to poke holes in the police investigation and the forensic work, and also reminded the jury that Anwan Carter and Ja'Cory Taylor, they had to testify to satisfy their plea deals. Are they credible witnesses?
These are the prosecutor's star witnesses. Confessed, admitted, actual murderers. Their final version is the best of the best. Their final version is, we participated in murders. That's the winner in the contest. They would have said anything the police wanted them to say in order to get out. And they both admitted that their testimony in this courtroom was so they could still have their deal. That's why they're here.
But what the jury heard from the prosecutor was highly emotional and highly damning.
There are so many profoundly tragic parts of this case. I don't know which is the worst. There's Christopher Jones, father of 3, crossing the street in the West End. Nothing to do with any of this. Shot dead for the stupidest of reasons. Larry and Maurice, killed because they did what we would want any teen to do in this circumstance. Go to your mom. These 4 children, so desperate for adult male guidance that they keep hanging out with Brice Rhodes even after they became scared of him because of Christopher Jones's murder. There's Ja'Cory, who had nowhere else to go, sleeping in stairwells, going over there even when he didn't want to, because that was a place where he could spend the night. Brice tied up with a sock in his mouth, bound, knowing his little brother's in the bathroom. There's Larry stuck in the bathroom, not knowing what's going on outside, we hope. And then Larry struggling when he comes out and sees the blood on the floor. And Juan Carter and Ja'Cory Taylor feeling they have no other option but to follow the orders of that man who forced them to participate in the murder of their best friends. Forced them to clean up after, forced them into this life that they now have. Arrest, prosecution, juvenile custody, adult custody, felony convictions, prison, having to come to court and testify. That is what this man has done to this entire group of children.
The jury went to the deliberation room and returned a late-night guilty verdict around 9:30 p.m. No reaction from Brice Rhodes when this was handed down. And in the penalty phase, the jury recommended life without the possibility of parole. Remember, the death penalty was taken off the table. Now, Rhodes returned to the courtroom in March for his official sentencing hearing. The judge has to be the one to actually impose it. Well, Larry and Maurice's grandmother, Jackie Party, addressed the court, giving a victim impact statement.
Little Larry played football, and he didn't get the chance to finish. Little Reese wanted music, and he took that from them. 14 and 16 years old. You know, I sat in this courtroom and listened to everything, even to the coroner. Something I had kept playing in my mind all along, but the coroner confirmed it. But when that one part that he did to my grandkids, it just took me right there. How you just mutilated them like an animal. You know, and then throw White Castle boxes all around them, just like they were trash. They wasn't trash. They was human beings, and they loved life. Little Larry and little Reese, they was good boys, very good boys. They went to school, everything. You know, it's just, I just can't understand why and how he can just take Mr. Jones's life, a man walking down the street, and just take his life like it's nothing.
Again, victim impact statements are a way for the court to understand what was the loss, how were people affected, what do these killings mean, and it goes kind of into the sentencing decision a lot of times for the judges. Sometimes a decision has already been made because that is statutorily the sentence that a judge has to impose, but it sometimes can't affect what a judge decides to do. Well, moving forward, the defense team had an opportunity to make a short statement before the judge handed down her sentence.
Given the trial that we all were present for, that we all sat through and we all did our job, we understand the court doesn't really have discretion to deviate from the jury's verdict in a situation like this. The jury handed down a sentence, and we understand the court is going to impose that sentence. We do believe that by operation of law, that those sentences should run concurrent. We would ask the court to impose them concurrently, and we do intend to file an appeal in this case. And that's our statement for the court.
Well, now to Judge Kalin, she told the courtroom that this was a very hard case to oversee.
I will tell you all that this has been by far one of the most tragic cases I've ever been involved in. And as someone who has represented many people charged with murder myself, and having been involved in a lot of tragic cases, this one it really stands out for how profoundly sad it is on every level. You know, with Mr. Jones, it's just the fact that it wasn't even the right person that they thought they were looking for is so profoundly sad. With Maurice and Larry, the fact that they were so young is so sad. It's so sad that the police had to resort to sending out sketches before anyone realized that they were gone and identified them. That is tragic. Tragic. And that deserves being said. Everything about this case is horrific. And when I came on the bench, it was very important to me to get this case tried, to get a resolution for everyone on both sides. It needed to be done. And I am satisfied that it is done and it is over and that justice has been served and that the jury was in the absolute best position to determine what the appropriate sentence should be. And that this jury worked very hard and very emotionally to come to what they felt was a just verdict. I believe it would be a dishonor to change that in any way. And so the court will follow the recommendation of the jury in line with the law and impose a sentence of life without parole.
So there you have it. The tragic loss of 3 lives, and the man behind it will be locked up for the rest of his life. And that's all we have for you here on Sidebar, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, wherever you get your podcasts. I'm Jesse Weber. Speak to you next time.